Hello there, friends. Welcome to day 4 of Get Real with AI Governance Week. Today's the last letter, so we are at L, which stands for Legible. And tomorrow we're going to be kind of doing a little bit of a recap, maybe some spicy takes, some Q&A. So stay tuned for that. Even though we're out of letters, we are not out of content. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jill Hines. I am your friendly AI strategist and the founder of Groundspring. And as I've been doing all week in this live stream series, I am walking you through letter by letter the Get Real method that I developed to help make governance holistic and practical for leaders. So to do a little bit of a recap, on Monday we got rooted. So that was all about understanding your ground truth. Tuesday, we talked about embeddedness, which is, I think, a huge topic I'm going to be revisiting in upcoming weeks. But that's where we talk about how to build governance into your systems, both people and technical. Yesterday, we talked about being actionable. And this is about what people are expected to do, who is on point to respond when things go astray, and really being specific about designating people and action steps in our governance practice. So today we are talking about legibility. Now, I am not talking about your handwriting, your doctor's handwriting. There's a lot of problems with legibility in the world, right? But the specific definition of legible, and this comes from the dictionary, folks, so not just making it up, but legible means capable of being read or deciphered, and capable of being discovered or understood. This letter, this concept of legibility became apparent to me after working with some folks who, it was interesting. I remember doing a training where we had our frontline staff together with our executive staff, and we were talking about governance and particularly in the context of data privacy and so forth. And, the executive was like, well, we have this in our AI policy. And no one in the room had seen the AI policy. So this whole idea of being discovered and understood, like that seems super straightforward, right? But you'd be surprised sometimes how, these documents or these policies, practices just don't maybe permeate the way we hope and expect. So it merits a little bit of attention. I also think there's a couple different aspects to legibility as I've been thinking more about it. And unlike maybe some of the other letters, with the exception perhaps of rooted, this is maybe one of the more external facing of the letters, right? And that's because when you make things understandable, when you write policies in human language, when you make them, discoverable, when things are clear and folks are trained, which is a big part of legibility, people can understand it readily, and not just the people in your organizations, but think about your clients, the general public, regulatory bodies for compliance purposes. So really that transparency piece has a lot of benefit, not just within an org, but to all stakeholders. So I think that's an interesting nuance. Also, in addition to being transparent, legibility implies being meaningful. Do your policies rather say something that is real in language that people can interpret and just readily understand. I see this all the time when I'm working with folks with an existing policy who are looking for help in revising it, making it a little more comprehensive. And I will see drafts of governance documents that say things like, we are committed to responsible human-centered AI, or AI will be used appropriately and in alignment with our values, or employees shall not use AI to generate biased outputs. And I think, wow, that sounds great, but what the heck does it mean, right? Every output is biased, in some way. Maybe harmful bias is something we want to prevent getting out in the wild. And maybe we have a particular definition of harmful bias, but that needs to be made explicit and legible. Similarly, when we talk about being responsible and human-centered with our AI use, what does that mean? For who are the humans, of interest? What does responsibility mean? How are we measuring that, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see how having the words is one thing, but crosswalking them to something that is meaningful and legible is another. So legible policies say something very specific. It names a thing. You could think about maybe rewriting some of these mandates or claims like this. Customer data will not be used to train external models without explicit consent. AI-generated content and client deliverables will be disclosed and reviewed by a named senior before sending. Those are directives. Those are claims that are more clear-cut. They are specific. And that is something you can kind of build your policies around. I would also, caution that it's not enough to have these claims on paper, these statements on paper. We would also want to think about how we support that with training, with conversation, with feedback loops. That is transparency and legibility are two-way streets. The receiver and the sender need to be in conversation with one another. So that's an important aspect. When the legibility is done well, you have these sort of receipts, this evidence, these specific measures that you can lean on to demonstrate that you are actually doing things according to your values and what you set out to do in your policy. And that can engender and foster an environment of trustworthiness, not just internally, but to everyone who your AI touches. So it's kind of walking the walk and not talking the talk. You can do all of the routing, embedding, and actionability work beautifully, but if no one can really understand what's happening across the organization, why these are meaningful things, the policy has a lot of marketing and flowery language, but it's not hitting your employees and your stakeholders where it means something to them, then it's just going to kind of fall flat, which is why I posed the question, if, along the lines of if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears, it doesn't make a sound. Well, if you write a policy that no one understands and internalizes, is it really going to make an impact? Probably not. So legibility is really important. It's probably the shortest conversation of the letters that I've had this week, in that it's maybe a readily apparent thing that we should do, but it is a thing that I observe people do not do. And it really kind of ties together all of the other elements. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. Lots to unpack. We've had 4 full days of conversation about making governance really connect and be effective and not be kind of a policing activity. I talked about this right off the top on Monday when we talked about Rooted, is that when we see governance fail to land, fail to make an impact, fail to be adopted, what we are witnessing is a design problem. We are creating a product, a policy that is not doing the work it's supposed to do because it's not meeting our users, which is often our staff and our stakeholders, where they are. So we need to bridge that using, I think this is a lot of design concepts. That's kind of the world that I come from. And I think we can apply those here. And that's what the real framework lays out. So I hope that you find it helpful, a little bit of food for thought. But if you do have questions, tomorrow is the day to bring them. I am going to kind of open the floor and LinkedIn. You can put your questions in the comments as you have them. And I'm going to share a few, I'm going to say spicy takes. Now that's relative, kind of like the stars on a time menu in terms of spiciness. Like one person's 1 star is another person's, 5 star or whatever. So take that with a grain of salt. But I'm going to reflect a little bit about things I've seen on the news, how they relate to this framework, good, bad, and otherwise. But I hope that you will join in. It's Friday. Bring some food. Spend your lunch kind of with your colleagues and your like-minded folks who want to see governance succeed, and we will take it from there. So just a couple reminders, if you are in the Charlotte area, Monday, June 29th, I will be doing this hands-on Get Real workshop where we'll work through all of this in a case study. And you can also find more information about what I do on groundspring.ai. So until tomorrow, keep it real and thanks for joining.